This video, we're going to talk to Justin Vititoe and tell you a little bit about a advanced pistol class I just had the opportunity to be involved in. So that's what's coming up next here on Survival on Purpose. Welcome back to Survival on Purpose, your home for information and gear reviews related to camping, survival, and general preparedness for regular folks. My name is Brian. Thanks for joining me. So, here you may recognize Justin Vititoe from season 2 of Alone. Season 2 of Alone. And I had the pleasure of meeting Justin and Alan Kay from season 1 Alone a couple of years ago now at a survival training class. And we kind of stayed in touch over the last couple of years. And he was kind enough to invite me to attend the Skydas Advanced Pistol class. Did I get the name of it right? Advanced Pistol
absolutely.
Class. And basically, I was the only civilian here. It was a law enforcement class. And I was a little intimidated by that because there's these guys that carry a gun
great,
all
by
day.
the way.
But I won't go that far. I only killed a couple of grand mals. So. But I'm just going to let Justin tell you a little bit about Skydas because I think it's a really great organization.
Yeah. So one of the biggest things that we offer at Skydas Group is law enforcement training, and what we've noticed, Mike, the founder, my boss. What we've noticed over the last few years of doing law enforcement training is there's a big gap of what a lot of people actually get for training. And even those departments that do put an emphasis on training, there's a huge gap as far as taking them from a beginner to intermediate level and giving them the tools to advance to a more advanced level. And that's where we primarily put our focus. So this class over the last couple of days, as you know, where we really focus our efforts is showing the guys how to improve their skill set, not just, running a bunch of drills and things of that nature. So there's a lot of instruction on how do I take a bunch of different tools and make myself better as a shooter, as a law enforcement officer, as a person in general, right? So, no, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think a lot of people have a misconception between the difference between training and practice.
Absolutely.
And so I think what I got this weekend is it was training to teach you basically how you can continue to practice on your own and continue to improve your skills.
Right, absolutely. And and as we talked about in the class, there's a separation, as you just said, between drills and training. So while I may incorporate certain drills in order to improve my pistol draw speed or my transition between targets and make that more efficient, I also need to incorporate training. Once I get to a certain level with those drills, I need to incorporate realistic scenario-based training like we just did with the knife drills and all those types of things. So we had simunition guns. We had a scenario, and they had to react to that scenario and react to potentially a knife attack. And doing those types of things are worth their weight in gold. As far as preparing a person for a real life and death situation. But in order to do that, you have to have a certain level of proficiency with that firearm or with whatever tool you're talking about using.
And I think one of the things that and we may have just touched on this, but I've been to a couple of classes where they were civilian classes, but there were a lot of law enforcement people there, right? Because they were taking on themselves to spend their money and their time to improve their proficiency,
right? For sure.
So, which is refreshing to me because I was really impressed with the level of skill some of these guys are out here.
Yep.
And I know that sometimes law enforcement gets a bad rap when they talk about round counts and misses and all that, but the reality is a lot of departments don't have the budget or the time or whatever to pay for for as much training as some people really think they should have.
Absolutely. And sometimes it really falls back onto individual officers not necessarily knowing what kind of tools they can use to progress by using dry fire drills and things like that. Right. It's not that they won't do them, it's that they don't know necessarily how to do them. So that's why we incorporate that as well. And it's not just, okay, you're going to get everything in this 2-day course, but you're going to get things that you can take home, and over the next couple months, you can make yourself better for absolutely no money, and we are extremely conscientious of the issues that law enforcement departments actually have. So whether that's budgeting issues, training time issues, things like that, and that is at the forefront of why we do what we do and how we do what we do. If you ask yourself, well, why am I doing it this way, or why is this the most efficient way, or is this not? You should be able, if it's a sound process, you should be able to back that up with a logical reason, you know. And I think one of the other things that that we try to really bring to the table is context. And you know, you mentioned law enforcement guys. You know, you've been around attending civilian classes, and that stuff is great. You know, and there's a lot of great trainers out there. I mean, this is the epitome, I think, in throughout history of the amount of tactical trainers that there are in America. I mean, there's just one on every street corner, and there's some really good ones out there, and there's some really not so good ones out there. And even sometimes the really good ones, you know, especially speaking from a military aspect, you know, I was never law enforcement, but I understand the context of what they have to deal with on a daily basis, right? And in understanding that, I also understand that some of the techniques and, you know, procedures and things that I would have done in a military context don't necessarily apply to a law enforcement context. You know what I mean?
Same with me as a civilian.
Exactly. So, and I think that's very important, you know, for anybody watching this. If one, and I know you've said this multiple times on your channel to your viewers as well, but if you're going to carry a firearm, whether that's as your job or as a responsible citizen, get some training with that thing and make sure that you understand how to actually employ that thing in the way it's designed to be used. And then the other aspect of that is make sure that training that it fits the appropriate context of what you are talking about. And I think that's one of the big things that get missed a lot is the context of what we're actually talking about.
And so you're not law enforcement, but the other guys involved in Skydas are law enforcement.
Yes.
So you bring your skills as a military instructor. You're a sniper instructor in the military, and they bring their skills together, and it comes together. So where are you right now? We're in west of Atlanta in Georgia. You guys working? What's your area of operations? I guess.
So we're based here. We're based out of Dallas, Georgia, which is just outside of Atlanta. However, we travel all over and do courses all over the place. So we have the ability for any of you law enforcement officers that know what post certification is. It's basically a credit hours certification that different states mandate that you get a certain number of hours of training every year. So even as a civilian company, we have the resources, and one of the only civilian companies that has the resources to actually get law enforcement officers post credit in the state of Georgia. Right now we're working on pushing that out to certain other places, Alabama, Tennessee, and all that kind of stuff. But so that's one of the other big things that we offer, especially for the people in the state of Georgia, is that not only can you come to our training, but you'll also get your post credit for it as well.
So how can somebody find out about Skydas?
Multitude of different ways. Skydasgroup.com. There are actually 2 Instagram pages. There's Skydas Group and then Skydas Training. The differentiation between those is we also, within the company, we also do a bunch of other stuff other than training. So everything from executive protection to a bunch of other stuff, right? But the main stuff as far as training on Instagram is Skydas Training. And you can always email me at justin@skydasgroup.com, and we'll try to answer your questions as best as possible.
Cool. Well, first of all, thanks again for inviting me out.
Brother.
It was a
You're
great,
welcome anytime.
Weekend. I really enjoyed it. I learned a lot. And if you're in law enforcement, you know somebody's in law enforcement, training is key. And I know a lot of times you may not get enough department training. Check out Skydas Group if you're in Georgia in the Southeast, because I think you'll really be happy with what you find out. So once again, my name's Brian. You're watching Survival on Purpose. Remember, survival's not an accident, so be prepared. I'll see you next time.